Welcome to Two Guys and a Question podcast, and today's episode pulls back the curtain on one of the most overlooked challenges in funeral service: how a single negative person can weaken an entire organization. Alan sits down with respected funeral leader David Storke, who shares a powerful personal story of courage, clarity, and what happened the moment he chose to lead boldly.
I'm Alan Creedy. Today I'm just going to go solo and visit with our friend David Storke at Storke Funeral Home up in Virginia. David is a member of our 21st Century group and just happened to be interacting today. David, you know that, it's been over 30 years ago, I wrote some articles about what I called the 10 call man. And 10 call man is that guy that almost everybody has on staff that just undermines your morale, undermines your authority, but you tolerate him because you think he or she brings in about 10 calls. Like I said, most funeral homes have one. This morning on LinkedIn, I saw a post that I really felt spoke to this issue, and you responded to it. So that's what I want to talk to you about. But basically, there was some professor in Australia did research. What he found was that management teams, if they have people who are either indifferent or cynical or pessimistic on their team, no matter how good the other people are, it reduces their overall performance by 30 to 40%. He concluded a team's effectiveness depends less on how many strong performers they have and more whether it carries even one toxic presence. To get you kicked off, I think the Bible speaks to this problem. Proverbs 22:10 says, "Cast out the scorner and strife shall cease." And frankly, in more than 50 years of life, I have observed that to be very accurate. And you responded to that. Tell us your story.
Alan, it's great, always great to chat with you. Several months ago, like I've done a lot in the past, when I've had questions or need some advice, I always call Alan Creedy. And I kind of laid out a scenario with you, and you paused and you said Proverbs 22:10. And I'm a Christian and I was raised in a Baptist church and I'm familiar with Proverbs, but I didn't know Proverbs 22:10. I said, what? And you said Proverbs 22:10. So I real quick Googled it and cast out the scorner or mocker in some versions, and strife shall cease. And some things like I think sometimes words come into your life. You learn phrases or words at just the right time. It may not be applicable at other times in life because you're not dealing with a certain situation, but that couldn't have hit at a better time because I had laid out to you some issues I was having with my whole staff. I felt tension. I felt problems across the board. I was getting to the point where I'm like, Alan, the common denominator is me. It's got to be me. Because all the roads, I couldn't have this many fires. So I got 34 total employees, probably half of those are full-time. And it was like, what's the one common denominator? It's got to be me. Then after you said what you said and you led me down the road and then it just was an epiphany and it harkened back. I'd heard you always say the 10 call man. And for those of us that have been in the funeral business, myself 41 years, we know exactly what that is. Every funeral home, whether it's a part-time guy or a full-time guy or woman, has a 10 call man. And it might be 9 or it may be 23. But the 10 call man is such a perfect thing. And for bosses or people like me, we don't want to lose a single call. We don't want to offend anybody. We don't want to rock the boat. What'll happen if this person is gone? And as I put to ground, I gave feet to Proverbs 22:10 recently, and I did a very hard thing. It wasn't fun. It wasn't pleasant, but it turns out it really wasn't a 10 call man. It was more fear. I think all funeral directors want to be loved by everybody, but I'm telling you, it immediately fixed the problem with my staff. I found out that all roads led back to this person. And it does not mean that this person is a horrible person.
That's right.
Long-time friend, long-time employee. It's amazing the immediate, relaxed atmosphere occurred in our 4 locations
Yep.
immediately.
Immediate.
So it was the hardest thing I've ever done, but it was the best thing I've ever done, for sure. And I'll tell you, that email you sent out this morning talking about the Australian professor, it is so true. You can have a team of 4 special operators, Navy SEALs, and if you took one out and put in, using Navy SEALs as an example, if you took those 4 special operators, removed one of them, and then went down to the ranks of the Navy and got just a radio man on a ship and say, hey, we need a 4th member, there's no amount of praise, salary, food that you can give the other 3 high operators that compensate for that one person pulling them down. And that study in Australia, I think it was,
Yeah.
he was spot on,
Yeah.
spot on. And if your staff is made up of special operators, and I'll just use that Navy SEAL term, they don't tolerate people less than their caliber. And they don't tolerate it well, and they won't tolerate it for a long time. Their performance will go down and the frustration level will increase.
One other thing about that you haven't mentioned that is, in my opinion, very significant, their respect for you goes down.
Oh, absolutely. I would submit that all of my staff would have never thought I would have done what I had to do. I read something one time, it said a guy killed a mosquito with a hammer.
Yeah.
And the question was, why in the world? You didn't need a hammer to kill that one mosquito. I did for all the rest of the mosquitoes to know. Or fly or whatever it was.
I
It
like
didn't
that.
it didn't take a hammer to kill that one fly or mosquito, but I guarantee the rest of the flies and the mosquitoes saw it, and they're not going to be buzzing around. I don't want my staff members
No.
to be in fear of me, but you've got to show leadership, and they'll fight for you and they'll die for you if you show them that you talk the talk and you walk the walk.
You know, David, I've known you for what, 15 years?
Actually,
A little bit more than that.
I think it was
And
before I was married to
I've
Katie, and then
always
20.
felt, I've always felt, and I feel this strongly, that your staff are, in comparison to many people I interact with, are racehorses. They're bright-eyed. They take initiative. That's one of the things I like about them. They're a little sassy, but that's good. I like that.
Right.
And they're all there to achieve purpose. But one of the things I've learned over in my career, and this is a hard lesson, and there's a lot of emphasis today with respect to leadership that somehow you're supposed to be emotionally uplifting all the time. That's okay with you. I'm good with that. But the emphasis today, I think, is getting us away from our purpose. And what I've learned is that people personalities are different, but people and they find personal encouragement in being part of a winning team.
Absolutely. Yeah.
No.
But nobody wants to play on a losing team. They may not communicate it that way, but they do. And you're exactly right. I love the illustration. I've got racehorses. I don't have pulling mules. Nothing wrong with the pulling.
That's even
nothing
better.
wrong.
That's a
Nothing
better
wrong.
contrast.
Nothing wrong with a pulling mule. You need pulling mules, but
Yeah.
we operate at a higher level than that, and it's harder, makes everything harder. It probably shortens your life by a little bit, but it's the only way I know how to operate. So thank you for the racehorse analogy.
When my children were in junior high school, my wife observed something that was a great lesson in management for me. She noticed that when she and I were in complete sync on a given issue, the wailing and gnashing of teeth never lasted more than 5 minutes.
Mhm.
When we were 1 degree off from each other, it never ended. And unfortunately, whether you like it or not, that carries forth into the workplace.
Absolutely. Parenting, you cannot love, praise, give more money to fix a problem.
No.
My nature is to, just love on you a little bit more and tell you about the good things that you do. It doesn't work. It does not work. And I just am sorry, because I've had several 10 call men in my lifetime. And
Most people have.
it's the hardest thing in the world to do, but it's not as bad as you think. It's not as many calls as you think. And I will submit, most people on the outside in the public, we don't know it, but they may not They may share the same opinion about that 10 call man as we see. We think he portrays himself as being, he or she portrays himself as being well connected, but everyone sees everyone's faults, whether you work with them or just see them on the street. So I've not had any backlash.
I want to share a story with you.
Okay.
I had a client one time, and I won't go into the depths of it. And he's a good person. I'm not going to say that he's a terrible person, but he was very abusive of his staff. He was very abusive of my staff, and he was very abusive of me. But I felt like I had to keep him. And finally, I finally woke up and said, nope, this is not working out. I need to get out of this. I went to him. I said, it's over. I'm leaving. Oh, he was shocked, absolutely shocked. That's not really the story. That's the background to the story. The story was that I was terrified. I can't exaggerate this enough, that the other clients in the area would see that and they would be offended and I'd lose. What happened was I found out that they all knew about this guy and they were wondering when I was going to catch on.
That is what exists in 90% of all these type of situations, I feel like. We just don't know it. We don't know what people's perceptions are, but you're right.
You know, but you have to do the right thing, and the right thing is often hard. I got lots of stories, but David, thank you so much. The Tyranny of the 10 Call Man, you probably can find it on the internet someplace, or ask me for it and I'll find it. Proverbs 22:10, cast out the mocker, cast out the scorner, and strife shall cease, and it is in fact instant. Thanks, Dave.
Thank you.
What a remarkable reminder of the strength that comes when leaders act with conviction and protect the culture their staff depends on. If today's conversation encouraged you, be sure to join us again next Thursday for another episode with Alan and Danny. You can do it, and they can help.